Noel totally roped me into this, so. But I met Flo at Black Excellence Weekend this year, last year, it's all a blur. And Flo was sharing about the challenges that women have in male-dominated industries like tech, and it was just an amazing talk. And so as soon as I knew that we needed speakers, I reached out, and Flo immediately chose the theme Pride. And it is such an honor and a pleasure to be able to welcome you this morning and be the person to ask you the questions.
Yeah, well, thank you. And can I take credit for the format? Because I kind of I did mess up. That's why the format is like this, I feel like. I was busy in Texas enjoying some Texas barbecue and didn't deliver my speech on time. But honestly, I actually prefer it like this. It's
gonna be great.
very intimate.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
thank you.
So let's start off with just who are you? When did you move to New Hampshire?
Yeah.
All of that.
Who am I? I ask that myself every morning. I always feel like I want to be something when I grow up. So I am an immigrant, and for me, even being able to say that is actually being proud of who I am, because I've never been able to say that. I was born in Zimbabwe, which is in Africa. I was raised there for about 7 years, and my parents, decided to come here in pursuit of the American dream. And very young, in Africa, we would watch Dallas. So our perception of Dallas, our perception of America was Dallas. The glitz, the glam, and it was like, ooh, wow, America is wonderful. So came here at a young age, and essentially grew up here. And we'll get into more detail about my childhood. But my parents are very hardcore workers. And at a young age, it was really embedded in my brain that being educated was not an option, right? Well, actually, not being educated was not an option. I had to go out there and get my degrees. And I saw them come here, work in nursing homes, being called the N-word, being, not offered jobs, but that didn't stop them from still wanting to pursue the American dream. Although it might not have been the Dallas dream, but they had to turn it into their dream. Both my parents are well educated. My father has an MBA and he has a Juris Doctorate. My mother has a marketing degree and she's also a nurse. So my mom spent years doing corporate and she was also a nurse. And with my father, he had businesses, and again, he was practicing. So with that upbringing, I went to Holy Cross College in Worcester, Massachusetts, got my bachelor's in English. And from there, I knew I had to push forward, and I put myself through law school working at a call center at Comcast. Yeah.
Amazing. So when you saw that theme Pride, it immediately resonated with you. Why was that?
Just talking about my upbringing, it was a challenge when I came here. And in Africa, all the schools were essentially, they're like almost like private schools. Everybody's wearing a uniform. So when my parents came here, they were told, hey, don't put your child into a public school. Try your best to put your child into a private school. So I've never attended a public school. My parents worked hard to put me through private school. And I remember being so excited to start school and getting to meet my, fellow American students, I was so excited. And I felt that excitement fizzle because I turned into almost like a circus animal. It turned into, oh my God, do you run with the lions? Are you, do you, because what they saw was the National Geographic, the women running around, topless. And, but that was not my reality. I lived in the city. It looked like Boston, it looked like New York. So for me, having asked these questions, I'm like, what is wrong with these people? I'm like, why would I want to run with a lion? Like, who does that? Not me. And it was around the time in the 80s when, you know, Jerry Curl was in. I don't know who's watched The Color Purple, not The Color Purple, but Coming to America. Yeah, when, you know, I remember having that Jerry Curl, and even my dad would say, do not lean on the back and touch my car seat with your hair. So what would happen is kids would be looking at my hair like, can I touch that? And then obviously it was oily because I had to have the curl activator. So they would just be like, oh, okay. And I was a very skinny child. And even prior to coming to America, I was tormented by a bully. And that really killed me. So coming here, I was already a broken spirit. And when you say pride, I didn't know what that was, to like yourself and love yourself and clearly come into a situation where I'm the spotlight. You know, I'm at a school where there is no representation. This was like in the 80s. There's no representation in private schools, you know, seeing diverse students at all. So, ask me the question again.
What's the first thing that came to mind when you heard the theme pride?
Yeah. So my childhood was a catalyst that had me lose my self-esteem, had me lose my identity. One of the biggest things I remember was, even at that school, I was put in the wrong grade level. So I fell behind. And the principal said to my father, you need to take her out of this school. She's not going to amount to anything. And you're wasting your money. And I remember as a child my father telling me this, and I'm like, why would, this is like heartbreaking, traumatic information. Why would you tell a child that? But he needed me to know the reality of who I was as a person at that moment as a child, and that Dallas glitz and glam wasn't really possibly meant to be my reality, right? So why I chose this topic was I have been suffering internally by the trauma of my childhood. And it has taken me years to, and I still struggle, and we'll talk about that, but it has taken me years to really feel self-love, right? Look in the mirror and say, you're somebody, you're worth it, you belong. And it's difficult to say those words, right? When you are around environments that tell you you're worthless, you're not going to be anybody, you've got to work 80 hours more just to make the same amount as somebody that works 40, right? The conditions around me and my childhood created weeds, right? Created these thorns that are like, you know, ingrown nails in my own ability and capability to understand and appreciate my identity. So I chose pride because I think it's the torment. I feel like in that picture, we need a sword. Because there's a love and a hate and a torment and a pain. And the pain that comes from that sharp, you know, the bias and discrimination and the bullying and the torment that I have faced.
Thank you so much for sharing. So part of the theme of your talk was moving from torment to triumph. What happened? What clicked for you to move you from torment to triumph, from broken to prideful?
Yeah. You know, you get tired. I mean, you know, how many ever wake up and you're like, oh, fuck. Right? It's morning, I gotta go to work, what in... And then you start looking at your bank account, right? You're like, maybe I can quit, right? Maybe I can be Oprah, right? But you're like, ooh, I'm missing a couple $1 billion, right? I really hated myself, right? And some days I do. Let's just be honest, right? That's the harsh reality. During my childhood, my parents saw what was going on, and they essentially encouraged me to assimilate, get rid of my accent, mask who I was, my identity. Don't even mention you're African. And it's not until literally almost 3 years ago that I really started telling people that, hey, by the way, I'm not an American, you know? I'll try to exaggerate the Boston accent. We're gonna go park the car, have some coffee, you know? Just try to do everything I can to ensure that I fit in. But what happens is that when you're trying to fake it to make it, you burn a lot of energy. Right? You burn a lot of energy, which is not positive energy. It's exhausting energy. It is energy that also you get lost, and a part of who you are disappears. You don't even know who you are, right? You don't even recognize the person who you're staring at in the mirror. And from law school, you know, I worked and I went corporate. And when I went into corporate, I was naive. I thought you work hard, you're gonna climb the ladder. And then I started seeing the org charts, and I'm like, ooh, wait a minute. You know, and I'm seeing how women are being treated. And I spent 7.5 years in corporate, and I'm thinking, hey, I'm highly educated. I have a Juris Doctorate. I'm hitting every milestone. I'm killing it. That I should be VP. I should be C-suite. I should be somewhere at the top of the food chain. But that was not my reality. And after 7.5 years of just putting up with being shortchanged, passed over for promotions, you know, being underpaid. I had a coworker telling me one time, hey, we know you have the lesser title, and that means you're making less money, right? So now people know how you're being treated, and you're sitting there like the clown getting laughed at. And COVID, we kept talking about COVID. COVID hit, and my whole family got COVID, except my older daughter, who she's got a good immune system. And we were isolated. And although I work from home, you know, it was like, you know, but the world shut down, and all of a sudden now you're really communicating with just the people in your house. My brain just mentally shut down. The exhaustion caught up. The masquerading and parading caught up. The wearing a mask caught up. It all caught up. And I broke down. I couldn't do it anymore. I wanted to know why wasn't I good enough to be valued? Why wasn't I good enough to have that spot at the top of the food chain? But at the same time, I was upset at myself. Why was I putting up with being mistreated, underpaid, undervalued? Why was I putting up with it? And I remember just bawling my eyes out. And I knew something was wrong at that moment. I hit rock bottom. And something had to change.
And what did that look like for you?
You know, I knew there was something inside of me, right? Behind all the just really undervaluing myself. One thing I will say is this, you know, Oprah has this quote that says, you know, essentially, how you treat yourself and how you put yourself out to the world is what you get back from the world. So you undervalue yourself, the world is going to undervalue you, right? And that's what I did, right? And I didn't know who I was anymore. I was caught between two worlds, right? It's like I am trying to be American, and then my African community is essentially, I'm an outcast because I'm too American, and I'm like, who am I? And what it looked to me was, I was failing at being a wife. I was failing at being a mother, because how do you love other people when you can't really fully love yourself? You know, how are you affectionate to other people when you don't feel worthy enough to deserve the affection of those that love you, right? And I don't know if you've ever just been in a room at a party or somewhere, you're there and the music is going and you're there, but you're really not there. Your mind is somewhere else. You're having like an out-of-body experience. And that was me on vacations. Times when I'm supposed to be having a great time with my family, I was there, but I wasn't there. I was not present. I was not present because I'm still questioning, who am I? Where do I belong? Right?
So I think you would say that you're triumphant now. What did that process look like from being so internally disconnected to now be able to sit here and say, Flo knows?
Right. You know, I have to owe it to mentors. I didn't do this alone. Okay. During COVID, everybody went social media. I turned to one. I quit my job. Okay. I left corporate. I got to a point where I said, this ugliness I'm feeling is I don't want it to, I don't want it to take me to a dark place where I will not be able to climb back out. So I left, and they didn't fight for me. They were like, oh, let us help, let us walk you out. and that's when I knew right away that I was just employee number, 2000 whatever. But I met these two women on LinkedIn who believed in me, and they saw me. And they believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. And you hear the concept of mentorship and sponsor, and they were both. And they were like, my goodness, you are a smart cookie, you are creative, you have so much potential, but you have not begun to realize your potential because you do not believe in you. You cannot unlock that potential and be triumphant if you do not believe in your capabilities. If you don't even know what your unicorn is, right? The stuff that makes you unique. And because of them really kind of, slapping me and waking me up, I call it the revenge tour. Right? I went on for everyone who has come into my life, taken advantage of me, underestimated me, it's going down, right? I am taking control of my power, right? I am taking control of the narrative, the story that's going to be written about me. I am taking that control back. And the triumph was unlocking and unleashing that inner warrior and being like, damn, I'm a badass. Where have I been? Right? And because of that, I woke up. I was in a coma. I was blind. My own self-doubt and self-hate blinded me to know what my capabilities were. Oh yeah, sure, I went to law school, graduated, took the bar, passed the first time. By all means, right? I was this like little baddie. But what people didn't know internally, I was a child who was scared, right? I didn't believe in myself. So the triumph was waking up and and taken back and saying, you know, there's that quote that says, well, if they don't give you a seat to the table, you know, you bring the folding chair. I was like, you know, after your folding chair. First of all, they're not even comfortable. Have you seen, you know? Have you ever sat in a folding chair? Half the time you're terrified that you're going to fall out in the first place. And I said, no, I don't want the folding chair. I want that seat. Why is everybody else having that executive leather chair? I want that. I deserve that. And I'm coming after that. And right now, I sit on several boards. I'm on the New Hampshire PBS Advisory Board. I was unanimously elected recently to the New Hampshire Small Business for Social Responsibility Board. I'm an elected New Hampshire trustee. I sit on the Cable Utilities Board as well. I was the only woman, well, the only person in New Hampshire to be elected by LinkedIn to be part of their accelerated program, Technology and Innovation. And I spent 6 weeks creating content for LinkedIn that was specifically geared toward technology. And what I did with my time was create content that put a spotlight on women around the world, the unseen, the unheard. Right? My triumph is finding me and helping others find themselves. Yes. Because I know the struggle. When I started sharing my story, because storytelling is so powerful, I can't tell you how many women reached out to me globally, internationally. And Oprah said it best also. She said she has talked to thousands and thousands of people. And what she's uncovered is, especially for women, is that lack of, you know, self-esteem, being proud of who you are. And that's the triumph, is the work that I've been doing, not only to unlock and unleash my power, but mentoring others, women, men, right? Because it's not just a woman thing. It's this is co-ed, right? The lack of self-esteem is co-ed. There are plenty of well-established people sitting at the top of the food chain who right now are probably like, I'm not good enough. Right? So that's the triumph, is refusing now. Well, let me backtrack. I took the mask off. Right? I took it off and I put it in the recycle. And now I'm like, this is who I am. You know, take it or leave it. And there's another announcement that's going to be coming. I can't announce it yet, where I'm getting another prestigious recognition. And this one is, it hits deep. I can't say it because they haven't announced it, but it's a global, reputable organization. And I'm so happy for this because in this industry, you know, whether in the legal and the technology, it can be very painful, especially being a woman and woman of color, getting the recognition that you deserve. So that's the triumph, is having people to see me, right? See me. And I've had people say, oh my God, I see you all over LinkedIn, like you just came out of nowhere. And I'm like, no, I've always been here. But I was in my corner, suffering, ashamed. But that's the triumph, because now look where I am. Look at this room is packed, right?
So my last question is, what advice would you give 10-year-old Flo, and even the audience here?
Yeah.
I agree, it's a human condition,
yeah.
Right? That low self-esteem, that looking in the mirror, we brought into societal expectations, etc. What advice would you give yourself and others?
You know, I think it's a tough question, right? Because we hear that, you know, we are who we are because of the struggles and the torment and everything that we go through, right? The trials, the tribulations, the challenges, the speed bumps. Those shape who we are. So although I would love to change the narrative and not have the torment and just the people who have been in my life who have been toxic, but I cannot negate the fact that that has also shaped who I am and why I'm here, sitting here before you today. But what I would tell my 10-year-old self is, fight like hell. You know, the world is a cruel place, right? And you've got to speak up. And you cannot let anyone silence you and dim your light. And that you have more power than you think, right? We are programmed to think, oh, you report to the boss, and the boss reports to that boss, and that those are the people that have power. We are designed to think that power resides only with certain people. That might be true, but the power that you have over who you are, that only resides with you. You're the boss. You're the VP. You're the CEO, the regional manager, the district manager, the customer service. You are the IT for yourself. You are the IT for your mental health and your well-being. And you've got to fight like hell to ensure that no one tries to take your power away.
Thank you. What? I don't know if we have any time. Do we have time? For some
like
questions?
4 minutes.
4 minutes.
Come on, let's make time.
Any questions? Oh.
Anastasia, it's like, look, she's like, listen, I'm gonna come on stage.
Anastasia.
First of all, I'm having a moment. It's such a beautiful experience. So thank you so much for sharing your story. My question specifically is around your dreams. So as you evolved and like grew and stepped further into who you are, did your dreams change? And if so, what was that like process of surrendering them and then?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just going to repeat the question for those who didn't hear it. And so the question was, as she grew and evolved and pushed through, did her dreams change through that evolution process?
My dreams change every minute. I think what we have seen, right, and I'll answer how it relates to me, what we've seen even through COVID was a lot of people woke up, right? That's why we had the Great Resignation, we had quiet quitting, now we have grumpy at work, you know. we have all this stuff going on, right? But what it is that people have realized is that they have the power to be who the hell they want to be, right? When I went to law school, I was like, oh, I'm going to be a prosecutor. Then I did an internship in Roxbury District Court. And I was like, ooh, never mind. Right? Right? So, yeah, then I went corporate because I'm like, I'm going to be a corporate baddie. And then I got to corporate, I'm like, oh my goodness. The corporate culture and the politics, I'm like, oh, it's a little bit crazy. You know, I just want peace, love, and happiness. And then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna work for a small company, right? So I'm involving, right? And I'm enjoying doing that because what I know now that I didn't know 3 years ago was my qualifications and my skill set. What I didn't know 3 years ago was what I can do when I truly push myself, my creativity, my innovation. I mean, I created 2 college courses for Manchester Community College, one artificial intelligence for cybersecurity, and one intro to AI. Am I a cybersecurity specialist? Hell no. But I taught myself that. And they were so amazed by the fact that I created a TV show, which I just was like, okay, I'm gonna create a TV show. You know, who does that? You know, most people are just like, I'm just gonna go to work and get a paycheck. But I've been pushing myself outside my comfort zone, right? Doing things that I wouldn't consider traditionally what Flo would do. Because now I'm like, forget coloring within the lines. Color all over the damn paper. Just go out there and explore and do whatever you want to do. Don't be afraid to change. Because who you are today might not be who you want to be tomorrow. So today, I might want to be a doctor. But tomorrow I might realize that my passion And my purpose, right, is helping kids in Ukraine or Africa or somewhere, right? But your dreams are you, right? They come here. So that means, guess what? I told you earlier, you have the power to determine who you want to be. So evolve. Why not?
Yeah.
One more question, maybe?
People are scared.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Oprah. Listen. I am still coming after that seat, right? You guys say you were in corporate, right? Yeah, I'm still coming after that seat. All right, I'm still coming after that, chief executive officer seat. So I'm just getting started. I'm still dreaming.
Yeah. So through your whole experience, what is the one thing that you would share with your daughters?
What is the one thing you would share with your daughters?
Self-care. And self-love. And that's one of the things. I have a 16-year-old who's neurodivergent. And she's my biggest concern because the world is already an ugly place. And for some people who have unique ability, her brain, she has ADHD. But I don't treat her like someone with a disability. She just got a job. She's working at Southern Medical in the cafeteria. So what I do with my daughters is, when they say I can't, I say you can. When they say I'm going to fail, I say, like, hell, what if you pass? Right? And that's what you're going to do. You're going to go pass. I don't want them to go through what I have done. And when I see that they need help, I am that parent who's like, we're going to get you the help you need. Because there has been a stigma, even in my culture, of saying, I need to go talk to someone. We just got our asses whooped, right? It was like, oh, that person is, being defiant. They need a good, boop, boop, right? But there wasn't that focus on, how are you? Your mental health. What's hurting? Not necessarily the pain in your body, but what's hurting here, right? Creating psychological safety for my daughters. That's what's a priority for me.
Amazing. Thank you so much.